Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Right now, we'll head on to look at the front pages of the national dailies. And as usual, we'll start with the Daily Trust newspaper here. The major story here says petrol subsidy removal about 10 months after the federal government yet to roll out electric vehicles. The writers here saying energy crisis threatens project, charging station inadequate in states, experts tax governors on infrastructure. Electricity seems to be a lot of, there's been a lot of back and forth. Okay, we've been talking about, the buses that would be using the CNG, and it has been a lot slow, not a bit slow. It's been so slow that Nigerians are now really asking questions. What is happening? Why is it taking the government forever to make these plans? Normally it should have been done before the announcement of subsidy being removed. If subsidy, it's like you just taking decisions without even putting anything in place at all. That was exactly what happened to Nigerians, and that was what caused the hardship. So right now, the CNG buses that was promised to Nigerians, people are asking, what is happening? Are we still going to use get that particular thing that you promised? But if you want the details of that, the Daily Trust newspaper got you covered. You find that on page 4. 13 killed, 2 injured in Kogi auto crash. A really sad situation there. There is always road accident, so you have to be extra careful while driving. Just average speed level, because accidents tend to be more severe when your speed level is quite high. All right, you see that at page 7. Mega looters won't go scot-free. That's according to EFCC boss. It's what we talked about. You find that on page 23. Bandits abduct 5-year-old baby and mother in Kaduna. Insecurity still eating deep in our society. It's really sad. Below the belt there, it says 8 arrested as UNIMED lecturer stabbed to death in office. You'll find that on page 5. This is what we're talking about. I mean, what could he have done that students could not just report him, but you decide to stab this lecturer? It's really scary what our society has turned into. Below the headmaster, we see Wiki Damagum's fate uncertain as PDP holds their neck. Meeting, you find that on page 11. Netherlands topped Nigeria's export destination in quarter 2023. That's the fourth quarter of 2023. You find that on page 19. War on Gaza. The anti-Netanyahu protest rock Israel. You find that on page 6. Finally, somebody is standing up, and this is happening from within, that is in Israel. No matter what, 2 countries are fighting is something that definitely everybody would need to put a stop on. But then to even encourage genocide, not following the rules of war, it's something that should not be accepted anywhere. So right now, Israeli people that are considered anti-Netanyahu, like if you are following something, if you believe in something, there has to be an anti or pro to it. But then you find that story on page 6. These are some of the stories that you would find on the Daily Trust newspaper. Let's take a look at the Vanguard newspaper now this morning. Major story there is saying banks need about 4.7 trillion naira to scale CBN's new capital hurdle. You'll find that on page 5, and the writers are saying no bank qualities under new guidelines, and the ETI Zenith Access First Bank lead in eligible capital. 7 qualify by adding retained earnings, and no need to panic. That's according to the ACAMB. You'll find all of this story on page 5. Below there is a pictorial of the Yowikan visits the First Lady, and I'm very sure it's say civil society, visiting the First Lady yesterday in Abuja. Beside the pictorial, we have Edo Guba, chairman and group blocker, right? Or bicker, rather, bicker over Accord Party's candidates. You find out on page 7. Police confirms robbers rob set ablaze passengers bus in Ogun State. Beside that, we have the Okwama situation, how soldiers and villagers die. That's according to eyewitness. Eyewitness is giving details on that situation. Below that, we have withheld salaries. We will shut down varsities if. That's according to the non-teaching staff of the universities of Nigeria. London maiden flight, how we fought restriction of Air Peace return flight to rejected parts of MMIA. That's according to Onyema. On the sports, 2024 Olympics, only 2 Nigerians are capable of winning medals, says Igali. Okay. At the top of the page there, we have Zenith Bank emerges Nigeria's best bank for 4th year. Okay, Zenith Bank. I'll just I'll just take a pause on that one. But VP Shetima, CBN Governor Kajoso Ayo Teriba headline 2024 Vanguard Economic Summit. Abure, that's the LP crisis. Abure rejected Peter Obi's advice for all-inclusive convention. That's according to Obi Deputy spokesman. Energy crisis, more troubles for the Gencos as the federal government increases gas price by 11%. All right, so with that, of course, we have to quickly join our reviewer. Our reviewer is joining us via phone call to help us dissect few of the front pages. Abdulaziz Ahmed, he is the GM Liberty Media TV and Radio Operations. Good morning and thank you for joining us.
Good morning to you and good morning to the viewer and listener out there.
Yes, indeed. It's good to have you. So let's talk about, what is happening. One of the major stories here says a petrol subsidy removal about 10 months after the federal government are yet to roll out plans of electric vehicles. I mean, people have been hoping and waiting. We even saw the governor of Lagos State coming out to say that there's been a bit of plans, working on the CNG buses. So what is your take on all of that? Did we make a fast decision without actually making the right one at that time that it was needed?
Well, the subsidy removal has been a discussion that right from day one. I think the president didn't think it out. We're meant to understand that the subsidy removal wasn't even in his inaugural speech when he made that pronouncement. The president should have at least settled down in office. There were no ministers, but meet the permanent secretaries, meet the staffs of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources before taking that decision. So it goes a long way to tell you the pronouncement that politicians make without actually looking at the books, looking at the figures to know what was on ground. Some of the problems we are going through today in Nigeria is as a result of that subsidy removal. One, and the floating of the Naira. It is what has brought us to where we are today. For the CNG, that pronouncement was made and all over the state. I think there are even jingles running on radio stations talking about CNGs in certain states. Even the states that actually officially launched those CNGs, up till today, nothing has been done. Kaduna is one, Lagos is another. We're meant to understand certain funds were given by the federal government for that CNG up to today. I think the only state I read about CNG buses running initially were Borno State. Apart from that, we've not had anything again. So it tells you when politicians don't think things through and come out to make a pronouncement. So it's this situation that we find ourselves today. And I think there's nothing wrong if Nigerians will ask questions about that. So government should know that you make alternative provisions before taking certain decisions. If you don't, we will always end up where we are today, where Nigerians are paying through their noses to actually survive on daily basis.
Indeed. Do you think that this is something that can be achieved, though, in the short term, the CNG, considering there's still no words from the government, the governor, state governors, and even the federal on how far they have gone, in the implementation of these CNG buses?
If anybody tell you they are not achievable, is not true. There are things that are not, nothing that is not achievable. But the reality is, was the right preparation met? I think that's the question we should be asking. You know what it means for even cooking gas as we are speaking now. So I would say it's not achievable. It's quite achievable. But at the right preparation put in place, the right things put in place to achieve that, I think that's the question that the government should be answering. For me, I don't think the right things were put in place before that pronouncement was actually made, and that is where we are today.
Quickly, I want to get your take on what is happening in LP. I mean, the crisis between the Labour Union and the Labour Party. What is your take on all of that?
Well, as far as the Labour Party is concerned, there is nothing new, especially with NLC. Remember, the NLC came to be with Adams Oshomole. Labour Party, came to be with Adams Oshomole as NLC president. Adams Oshomole was meant to run on the platform of the Labour Party as the governor of Edo State before he actually went to, is it AC now, ACN then? And Labour Party had to collapse all the structures into ACN for Adams Oshomole to run. The first governor elected on the platform of the Labour Party was Olusegun Mimiko of Ondo State. Even for Mimiko, he was supposed to run on the platform of the ACN then, but Olusegun Agagu then, as the governor of the state, was smart enough to sponsor another candidate to block his chance. And that was how Olusegun Mimiko ended up on the platform of the Labour Party. And he got the support of the Labour movement. If you go to Ondo State then, according to the especially, it was not for nothing that virtually everything of Labour Party was orange, and what is his name? Mimiko, anywhere you hear Mimiko, you hear Basiba, became the state anthem virtually everywhere, especially among civil servants and the poor then. But that struggle had been on for God knows how long between the NLC and Labour Party.
And the Labour Party.
So there is nothing new.
Well,
what we are seeing now is the faction. Now you remember the Lamidi Apapa faction came. The Lamidi Apapa and the Abure faction. But there was a court pronouncement that gave Abure and said Lamidi Papa there cannot be faction, and they were able to resolve that, and we see that Lamidi Papa gone under. But Labour Party, nobody expected that Labour Party will become the third force that it became, giving PDP and the APC a run for their money. You remember?
Indeed.
Run up to the presidential election.
I wish we could literally go on with this discussion because it's really getting interesting. But yes, due to time constraint, we have to put a stop to this. Abdulaziz, we truly appreciate your time, joining us. And of course, I hope we'll get to, invite you some more to dissect front pages with us.
It's all right. Yeah, the pleasure is mine. You're welcome.
I appreciate you. Well, that is Abdulaziz Ahmed, the GM Liberty Media, TV and Radio program, and I appreciate your time. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thank you so much for staying with us. Until next time. Bye-bye.